I've made a mistake. A huge mistake. Last week I read some funny toddler stories, and one of you left a comment. And now we're here.
Before we start, I just want to let everyone know that I scare really easily. I know this is a terrible idea, but we're doing it anyway. Let's read the comment that started all of this. This was a comment on my video, The Most Unhinged Toddler Stories on Reddit. Kyra R.S.A.C. says, when my now 13-year-old son was 2, I was putting him to bed and he was just kind of fighting sleep. So I was talking to him, trying to get him to want to lay down and go to sleep. So I asked him what he wanted to eat for breakfast in the morning, and he looks at me and goes, I want pancakes. But the old man in the corner wants cereal. Like, the what? I tried to downplay it and not be creeped out, but he was insisting there was an old man standing in the corner of the room. For years after, he would periodically mention this old man in his room until he finally stopped talking about him around age 6 or so. Then one day a few months ago, my now teenage son came up to me while I was doom scrolling on my phone, and right as I happened to pass some random reel about the Hat Man, he goes, hey, I know that dude. It's the guy in my room. And I realized this child has been seeing the Hat Man since he was 2 years old. And now I'm thoroughly creeped out and ready to sell my house. LOL. I have goosebumps already. That is scary. That is really creepy. I would like to talk to her son to get more information, and maybe he'll be like, oh yeah, mom, it was just a joke. Tell me the creepiest thing a child has ever said to you. My 2.5-year-old pulled my necklace out my shirt. No biggie. He plays with it often. I ask him, it's beautiful, right? I love it. And he deadpan looks at me and says, yeah, mimas. Or mimas, sorry, I don't know how to say that. That's what we all call my grandma, who raised me and passed away almost 5 years before he was born. It was her necklace, and he only heard us speak about her in passing combos, never about the necklace. Not super creepy, but these kids, man. Okay, so I'm gonna try to find reasons for these stories, or else I really don't think I can ever sleep again. Maybe when this mother wasn't around, maybe someone else told the story to her child, and that's why they know. Ah, yes, it makes sense now. Next one. I used to babysit for a pretty well-off family. They had 3 children. Oh no, I have 3 children. The oldest was 4, the middle was 2, and the youngest was still an infant at this time. Oh my god, that's like similar ages to my kids. All 3 kids had separate bedrooms on the top floor of the house. Okay, my 2 older kids share a room, so I'm safe. The way it was set up, they had a living area beneath a walkway. The walkway had one child's room at one end, and the other 2 children had rooms on the other end, which were connected by a bathroom. I would typically do evening, nighttime babysitting, and the parents would come back pretty late. This babysitter sounds amazing. I wonder if she could babysit my kids. On this particular evening, I had put the kids to bed already. The youngest went down right at 7 o'clock, and then the middle and oldest both went to bed at 8:30. We read 3 stories, and then I went into each room once they had laid down to do lullabies and rub backs until they were asleep. No, seriously, she sounds so amazing. Both kids slept with their doors open. It was wintertime, so it was dark outside already. I mean, pitch black. This house had enormous windows and skylights and was completely surrounded by trees, so it was either serene or a little spooky in the dark, depending on how you look at it. I would look at it as a little spooky, not gonna lie. Once they were asleep, I returned to the living room, which was below the walkway. I sat on the couch on my phone for probably an hour and a half, and then the oldest just starts screaming. I mean, at the top of his lungs. He had never done something like that before. They all usually slept pretty peacefully through the night. I ran up the stairs as quickly as I could, thinking something could have happened. When I got up there, he was bolt upright in bed, pointing at a wooden rocking chair in the corner, just yelling and crying hysterically, saying over and over again, "I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that." Mind you, it's just about pitch black minus the minimal light from the hallway. Obviously, I was like, I don't like that either. So I ended up letting him sleep on the couch downstairs next to me. But yeah, that wasn't my favorite. Oh gosh, that's scary. But my reasoning for this is that maybe this child saw something scary on TV, and then in the show, there was a scary character on a rocking chair. So then that reminded him of his rocking chair in his room. And then he had a nightmare and, he dreamt of that character. And that's why he sort of thought, it was on the chair. It's not that he actually saw something. One of the replies says, "Shut the front door. I know this is unlikely as hell because how many houses likely have this layout and are super haunted? But was this in South Carolina? Why? My aunt had a house with this exact layout. No way. I was a rebellious kid, so my mom sent me to stay there for a summer from New York, and I was supposed to stay in one of the rooms with the connected bathroom, and I couldn't be in there for more than a few minutes. Went to the other room, locked the bathroom door and the bedroom door to wake up to them both open. Slept on the couch for the rest of the stay under the walkway, the same walkway I was terrified to look up to." Oh. And then someone replies to that first reply saying, "Okay, what the heck? I was also a very rebellious teenager, but I don't know how to say that, from Canada, and was also sent to live with my aunt and uncle for 3 months who lived in South Carolina. Their house setup was literally the exact same, 2 bedrooms on one side of the walkway, a bedroom with connecting bathroom on the other side. It was like a 2-door bathroom. You could access from the hallway and the bedroom. Crazy." Okay, but this person says that they didn't feel anything scary or anything bad. So they're just saying that they know this layout and it might be the same house. And then there's a reply saying, "Clearly we're the same person. Was it haunted as also Somerville? Do we have the same aunt and uncle?" That would be crazy. RU and TD were their initials, just in case. Oh my God, what would be the chances of that actually being true? The person replies, "Sadly, there was no haunting." Thank goodness. But the first few nights, the frogs croaked and scared the daylights out of me. What was even scarier, though, was being 19 and old enough to drink in Canada but not the States. That was the harshest part. We were, and they still are, in Clover. Okay, so it's fine. Oh, what's the drinking age in Canada? You can drink when you're 19? I lived in Canada for a year, so I should know this, but I was in my early 20s, so. And then someone replies to the original poster. In Feng Shui, having a chair in your bedroom is an open invitation for spirits, ghosts, and demons to watch you sleep. What? I didn't know that. I'm gonna take out the chair in my baby's room. In my older kid's room, there's no chair. And in my bedroom, there's no chair. So just the baby's room. I'm gonna take that out after I film this video. And then another person says that I do believe certain layouts have poor vibe. I never even thought about layouts in that way. I'm not a fan of walkway houses, and I am not a fan of quad levels, especially if the stairs between levels form a spiral. Gives me the ick. I live in one now, and the stories I could tell. Bleh. Moving on to another post. When I was a few months pregnant with my daughter, before we knew she was a girl, I was folding laundry while my son watched Care Bears in the living room, and out of nowhere he just started sobbing and asking where his baby sister was. Whoa. He was 2.5 and had a slight speech delay, but this time he was speaking somewhat more clearly. He started trying to tell me that they hurt her hands and her legs. I'm getting teary-eyed because this is already scaring me. When I asked what he was talking about, he told me his old mommy, his bad mommy, they hurt him and his sister and everything went black. Wait, seriously, can you see the tears? I'm actually like getting really scared. Okay, sorry. They hurt him and his sister and everything went black. And they chose to come to me and my husband. What? I kind of freaked out. I'm not super religious or into anything spiritual like that. And I was hormonal and worried my son had been exposed to something strange or scary. But I was a stay-at-home mom. He was never out of my sight. Not even my parents would babysit him at that age. So I kind of pocketed it in the back of my mind. Just checking that there's nothing behind me. I put that baby doll for a bit like creepy vibes, and I kind of wish I didn't. No, it's cute. It's a cute baby doll. The story continues. Now, when my daughter was born, my son was obsessed with her, and he would constantly check up on her and count all of her fingers and toes constantly. And my daughter was an incredibly clingy baby. She breastfed for almost 3 years and would only fall asleep in my arms. If I left the room for that first year, she'd start screaming bloody murder. When she started talking in full sentences around 2 years old, she was a bit more advanced than her brother. She started calling me her good mama, and she would say it constantly. When I would ask her why she was calling me that, she'd tell me I wasn't bad. I didn't hurt her like her bad mama. Okay, seriously, like the tears. Oh my God, I don't even know what I'm feeling. I'm telling y'all, hearing that come out of her mouth almost 3 years after my son had his tiny freak out, knowing I've never brought it up around her or made it a point to tell anyone it at all other than my husband, it freaked me out. I started crying really hard too. It just really messed with my head because it was coming from both of my kids. I don't know if my son ever talked to his baby sister about their bad mama. They don't talk about it now at all that they're older, but I do get a little easy on them and spoil them a tiny bit too, just in case there's truth to what they've told me. Wow. What do you guys think? I guess this is kind of like reincarnation? One of the replies says, I had something sort of similar happen with my daughter. She must have been 2.5, maybe 3. She's 10 now. But I was driving down the interstate on our usual commute. Every once in a while, I check my mirrors and look at her. This one time, while I quickly looked up to check on her, I see tears sliding down her face as she's staring out the window. Of course, I'm super worried and I start saying, Baby, what's wrong? She starts to sob and tells me in her little tiny voice how much she misses her sisters and her mommy. Oh my God, that broke my heart. I wanted to cry with her. I just told her that it was okay to miss them, but man, I've always been open to the paranormal as I'd experienced many things and many more since. I've always been on the fence about reincarnation, but damn, that day really changed my thoughts about it. And then this original poster of this story says, it really messes with my head sometimes, in a good way of course, but I struggled so much with self-worth and wondering if I'd ever be good enough to be a decent mother. Being pregnant with my first was honestly one of the most stressful experiences of my life because I was so worried about money and our living situation. My husband was out of a job at that point, so we were relying on family, and I definitely didn't feel like a good mother in the beginning. But my oldest is 9 now, and I absolutely love being a mother. My kids have a very strong bond too. My eldest lets his little sister sleep in his bed at night sometimes. And they're very close-knit. I feel very lucky to be their mom, and if there's any truth to the things they told me when they were little, then I'm happy they found my husband and I. We both enjoy being their parents so much. This mom seems so nice, but I just realized that her name is Fat Ass with 2 kids. I'm sorry. It's really sweet though, those siblings kind of looking out for each other. 20 years ago, my then 6-year-old daughter and I moved into a new apartment. I was getting her bath ready and told her to undress, and she said she's not getting undressed in front of that boy. She said, "Don't you see him? He looks like a mummy. All I can see are his eyes." Oh my God. She never did take a bath that night. My body is like doing something weird. Like I feel cold, but I'm also sweating. When asking the neighbors about who lived in the apartment before us, and they said the Red Cross put up a family who lost their home to a horrible fire. They only lived there a few months. They had a 9-year-old boy who was burned over 65% of his body, who succumbed to his injuries not long after he was released from the hospital. They said he wasn't allowed outside and he was wrapped head to toe in bandages and you could only see his eyes. Shit, I'm like, seriously, I'm sweating. Whew. Whew. I didn't think my body would react like this. My husband is not home yet. I don't know if I can continue this video because I'm actually so scared. I cannot continue. I'm sorry, but it was fun. Okay, bye.